My opinion of Nintendo is one that I think many people share. While there are so many things that they do that are absolutely incredible with the games that they make, the ideas that they come out, the IPs that they're able to come up with, how they interact with the fans, there's an equal number of things that are disappointing, to say the least. And I'm not talking about how they were the first to charge $80 for a game, which is now pretty much industry standard, or how they a lot of times don't listen to what the fans want and think that they're in a position to tell the fans what they want. And I mean, a lot of times, that makes sense. They are able to come up with games that I don't think would be as fun if they listened to all the criticism that they got. But sometimes they take it a bit too far. So much so that they were even willing to charge for the Welcome Tour on Switch 2 rather than including it like they did with the original Wii Sports on the Wii. Which the only reason they included was because of Reggie from Nintendo in America. At the time, he really fought for it to be included, and it almost wasn't, but he was able to convince him at the last minute. I think it did a lot for the people buying the console to have a game included. And I think that it would have done wonders for the Switch too if they had included a game as well, even if it was Welcome Tour. But that's not my main issue with Nintendo. Despite all of the good that they do, the amazing games that they create, and how much of an amazing company that they are on the game side, even to work for them in Japan, sounds like they have a really great work environment. I'm talking about the corporate side, what they do with specifically their copyright and how they treat their IPs and try and safeguard them. I think the biggest example of this is their stance toward emulation. They are extremely against anyone emulating any of their games, playing anything that they are not owning on an official hardware. In some cases, even when it's a game that there is no longer a way to legally purchase it. There's a lot of games back from the N64, the NES, the SNES, or even newer consoles, the GameCube, the Wii, that there is literally no way to legally purchase them anymore. The only way to play them is if you had purchased them back when they came out, or if you're able to borrow them from someone you know. In terms of giving Nintendo money for that thing, you cannot do it. But yet despite this, they don't allow any emulation for that game, for a lot of those games, which just seems absolutely ridiculous. And I know that on the Switch 2 and the Switch, they have emulators built in with the online subscription, so they can make money from them, but they don't have nearly enough games on there. The selection is really small, and the ones they do have, in a lot of cases, don't actually run as well as the games that were emulated. Big example of this, it was a big website called Vim's Lair, which is run by someone basically as a passion project. There's no ads, he doesn't make any money from it, and it had all of those games that you can't buy from Nintendo. And of course, Nintendo came knocking, had him a cease and desist letter and said, you gotta shut down the website, despite there really being no monetary loss for Nintendo. And of course, some of the games on there were games that you could buy at the moment, but a lot of them were not. And rather than just going after those specific games that you can still buy and still give money to Nintendo for, they took down every single game that was on the website that belonged to Nintendo. This stayed down for a couple months. Eventually, Vim's Lair was able to come back up, but it still shows the lengths that Nintendo's willing to go to make sure that nobody plays their game on unofficial hardware that they didn't buy directly from Nintendo. And that's perfectly in their legal right to do so. I'm not saying that they are breaking any laws. Of course, they're legally able to, and it's their right to do so, but it seems a little bit ridiculous. And don't even get started on what happens when someone is trying to profit off those games. Nintendo has been very well known for going after people who are selling emulators or emulated games, suing the creator of Yuzu for $2 million. That was an emulator for the Switch, and going after individual people for every single cent that they can, which, again, they shouldn't be profiting off of Nintendo's content. That's perfectly understandable. I get it. But once again, it shows how willing Nintendo is to go after people through the court system as well. Another example of this is the game Palworld, which, for those who don't know, featured a lot of characters called pals, which had slight resemblance to a lot of Pokemon, and used that mechanic and expanded on it on a way that a lot of Pokemon fans have been wanting for a long time, and a lot of ways that they didn't even know that they wanted. This was important because over the last, honestly, couple of decades at this point, Pokemon hasn't really gone past its roots. The games are very similar. The ones that are open world seem like they are years behind where they should be, and it feels like Niantic and Nintendo, in terms of Pokemon, have really not been trying to push the needle. They're already making enough money that they don't need to. So here comes another company willing to make another game that does a lot of the things that Nintendo and Niantic could be doing with Pokemon. Expanding on the IP, come up with some great ideas that are a lot of fun. And rather than Nintendo taking inspiration from them, making their own game, trying to improve their products, or even partnering with them, they once again went down the legal route. And they tried everything they could to get the game shut down, trying to say that the characters look like the Pokemon. They even copyrighted or patented the idea of capturing a creature in a ball, so that way it couldn't be used in Palworld. And the developers of Palworld did actually have to change that feature and move it from the game as a result. And once again, it is, of course, in Nintendo's legal right to do so. It just feels like they're going about it the wrong way. It feels like they're trying to make enemies out of everyone rather than take the ideas and improve their own games. Another way they were showing that they were disconnected from the community was during the RTA Japan 2025 event, which is a speedrunning event which raises money for charity. This time they were raising money for Doctors Without Borders, and some of the games that were being run were Nintendo games. Now, Nintendo did not like this, and so they actually told the event to not feature any of their games because they considered it unauthorized use. So now the charity would not get as much money, the people at the event would not have as good of a time, and honestly, Nintendo just got a bunch of bad publicity just because they didn't want their games to be shown in an unauthorized use, whatever that means. I'm not even really sure why this would be bad for Nintendo to people see their games being speedrun, to be honest. I guess they want to hold their image of it being more of a casual, family-friendly game, but again, it seems ridiculous. Why not let people play the games how they want? And why not let an event which is raising money for charity to run their games? It's not the first time that Nintendo has gotten involved with events. Whenever the Smash community has tried to hold an event or a tournament, it's been notoriously difficult for them to do so, having absolutely no support from Nintendo, and a lot of times actually being shut down completely, specifically with the Melee tournaments. Smash Bros, and honestly all of the Nintendo games, have never really been designed with the competitive aspect in mind. They've always definitely been trying to target more of a casual audience. But if the people want to play the game competitively, it's ridiculous for Nintendo to come out and say that they cannot play the game that way. You have to play it our way, or we're going to shut down the event entirely. It just doesn't really make sense. And the reason I'm bringing all this up is not to just say that Nintendo's a terrible company. I hate everything they do. It's the exact opposite. I absolutely love Nintendo. I grew up with them, playing on the GameCube, the Wii, the Switch, all of it. I absolutely love the games, the IPs, the worlds they create, the characters they have. Seems like such a fun company, and every time I play a Nintendo game or see one or a new game coming out, brings me back to my childhood. I have a lot of nostalgia, but all of that makes it that much more disappointing to hear when Nintendo's doing all of these anti-consumer things. It feels like they get all of the hard stuff correct with making new innovative games that nobody else is coming up with, and they get all the easy stuff wrong with their PR and how they're handling the community and just letting the people play the games they want. So I don't know. Let me know. Maybe I'm being ridiculous. Let me know in the comments what you think. If I'm spot on, if you agree, if you think that they should be able to do whatever they want, or if maybe they should consider changing, or if you think they will change. I don't know. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching.